Howdy, folks. Welcome back or welcome aboard. We are glad to have you. You are listening to the Doc Owen Show, being brought to you from the Hilltop Studios, and we have a full house tonight. I am Richard Doc Owen, joined by...
I'm a surefire.
And...
Uncle Bocce.
Uncle Debachi. We're ready to go. Mm-hmm. The name of tonight's show is Invasion or Bomb Duds. Just to tell you, we're going to kind of sometimes we take a local approach and try to get you to do what is called extrapolate to your local environment and see if there's some similarity to what's going on. And I have a sneaking suspicion that there usually is. Tonight, we're going to start at the national level and bring it back home. We're going to kind of reverse our normal approach for a change. But before we do, we need to do our self-advertising, which is just where to find us. We are Doc Owen Show, DocOwenShow, on all social media platforms, as well as our own blog, docowenshow.com. And we have free apps where you can listen to us live or as a podcast and have access to an extensive library of previous shows for both the Apple and the Android. If you go out to to your respective store and look up Doc Owen Show, you can download the app and be good to go and delight your friends with the information and knowledge which we impart on a very regular basis. I mean, that's our objective. We always begin the show after those little front-end advertising moments in a very traditional manner, and that is Ms. Surefire gives us an inspirational quote. Uncle Bocce tells us about what happened this day in history, and then I wind it out with a leadership quote of some kind. So, Ms. Surefire, take it away.
And tonight's quote actually comes from a website that I usually quote from. I kind of took a break from the book.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Only because I saw it this morning. I thought, this is really good.
You want to give it to the folks.
And it comes from excuse me there. Must be one of them nuts I had in that pecan pie slide earlier. Okay. So this quote comes from passiton.com. And it's from somebody that most people have heard about nowadays. His name is Dwayne Johnson.
Oh, yeah. The Rock.
Yep, that's right. Also
He's
known
actually,
as The Rock.
I think he's a good guy.
He is.
He does the right thing.
Excellent actor. The most highly paid actor, too. Right
Oh,
now.
wow.
He's a lousy actor, but he's.
Okay.
But
I've seen him in some really good
chooses
events.
his roles correctly.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's also a producer.
Yep.
So now that we're thinking about whether he's a good actor or not.
Okay, let's hear what he has to say that's appropriate to the audience.
His quote is, "Don't be afraid to be ambitious about your goals. Hard work never stops. Neither should your dreams."
That's why I like him.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He's very enthusiastic about life, supportive of others, friends, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
He's a good
Very
guy.
good. I like that.
Well
I
done.
like the quote, yeah.
So don't give up.
That's right. Just
Stay
keep
with it.
on trucking.
Just stay hard work. Get her done.
Yep.
Uncle Bocce,
Yes.
anything happen on October the 25th somewhere in the past
Yes, sir.
of significance?
In 1774,
Yeah.
this was the last-ditch effort to try to reconcile with the United Kingdom, which was then Great Britain. The Congress petitions the English king to address grievances. Okay, so they sent him a letter and saying this is the things we'd like to try to. Well, of course, King George rejected it completely out of hand, and so that led to the writing of the Declaration of Independence, and we've gone through all of that. But that's what happened this day.
Okay.
That was it.
That was enough.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting ready for Halloween.
Kicked off a big deal. I guess so. Our leadership quote tonight comes from this same book that I keep using. It's just got so much information in it. It's called God Bless America. And it's from a friend of mine that we've had on the we've replayed some of his admonitions and warnings when he left office as president. Dwight David Eisenhower.
Mm-hmm. Go, Dwight.
In the swift rush of great events, we find ourselves groping to know the full sense and meaning of these times in which we live. In our quest of understanding, we beseech God's guidance.
Mm-hmm.
You
Awesome.
In? You
that
in?
was good.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was good.
That was one of those
That's
that
good.
deserved a quiet pause to think about.
Yeah.
To reflect.
In other words, we just think we're in charge.
Yeah. Exactly.
There's a power higher than that.
We just
Exactly.
think we're in charge, so we need to ask somebody else.
Yes,
So,
sir.
tonight's show is about the invasion of our southern border, and the numbers that I'm hearing are anywhere from 7 to approximately 20,000 people are heading this way. Can you just think about that?
Yeah, right.
And by the way, they're not walking entire, but we'll get into the details later.
That's more than Santa Ana had when his troops, isn't it?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
But they were armed,
That's a good question.
so we knew what they
Well,
were
yeah, they
coming
were.
for.
Yeah. They're the
And
silent
and
ones.
then we'll also talk about the quote bombs unquote that have been being delivered over the last several days. And then we'll bring it back to a situation with our local congressman and the San Antonio police chief.
Oh, do we have to?
No, we don't have to. We'll see how time
We'll
goes.
see how time goes. Okay.
I just thought I'd throw that in there in case we have
We
time.
just left him for the end.
So, Uncle Bocce, what do you have for us tonight that is of a historical perspective, lessons we should learn?
Yes, we're going to talk about William McKinley,
Oh, okay, we're back into
the
presidents.
25th president
Okay.
of the United States.
Yep.
And this is really, it's quite interesting because by today's standards, not too many people understand or realize what a fantastic and great president this man was.
Okay.
When he died about 117 years ago,
I can't help you with the math
yeah,
because you didn't
there
tell
you go.
us when he died.
I know. He actually, during his time, he was one of the most beloved presidents in
1901.
American history.
He died in
This is
1901?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Then your math's off.
Yeah, my math's off. Oh, well.
It doesn't make...
From
Amos got her.
2015,
Amos
it was
got her.
114.
She-
Okay,
you-
so-
you
I
got
don't
it.
think that's the principle of the story there.
You got a picture that's... When I brought that up, I'm going to put her hand in her forehead, on her forehead, and they put her head down like, hi, Chingawa. There he goes again.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So,
You're right.
So at the time, he was one of the most beloved presidents. Everybody just thought he was, even Democrats thought he was one of the greatest. Even by those who, like I said, Democrats who didn't share his political beliefs, they still believed in this guy.
Okay.
His legacy seemed cemented as a man who turned the United States into a world power.
Really?
Pretty significant. Now, this is the first of the modern era presidents.
Okay. All right.
Because it was turn of the century and all of that.
Okay.
So, yeah, he was a precedent center. He was acclaimed. He has many monuments around the country. There's one in Maryland. There's two in Ohio. There's a statue of him in front of the Ohio State House.
It's a good thing he didn't have slaves or they'd be gone.
Exactly. 7 high schools.
No matter what he did.
And until, last year, he even had the tallest mountain in North America named after him, which was Mount McKinley, which is now reverted back to its original Mount Denali. So, while he remains one of the celebrated heroes in Northeast Ohio, he is kind of, it's because of the change in times, modern times, different
Yeah.
ways people are looking at presidents.
Right.
Okay, but back then he was the top.
He's what we call a transformational leader.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
I didn't mean to.
exactly what he is.
Yeah, I
That's
know.
exactly. You got that. Did you read my notes? Or what?
No, but I studied leadership a little.
But so now he's largely fallen into obscurity. But if you study him, he was really a very well loved and important man. And he was the last Civil War veteran to serve in the nation's highest office. Okay, so his campaign was really a front porch campaign. The man did not leave his house. He conducted his entire campaign from his front porch, sending out others to do all of the politicking.
No Twitter, no Facebook,
Nope.
no news media hanging around.
So his presidency is really considered the first modern one. As I say, we're going into the modern area. It was marked by global expansion of the United States political power. His protective economic policies allowed American industries that ruled the world throughout the 20th century to take root. So be thinking about that. Do a little bit more on that in a minute. Had it not been for his assassination, which triggered, you remember John F. Kennedy, okay, and the mourning that went on he was pretty much, the mourning was pretty much like that for him when he was killed. And if it weren't for his successor, who happened to be Teddy Roosevelt, he's the guy who takes all the air out of the room. You know, I mean, he just overwhelmed the greatness of McKinley. He served.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Based on our original premise that we went down this path, was McKinley was his assassination a result of party animosity and sore losers?
No.
Okay.
It was one man
Yep.
who was an anarchist
Okay.
who just decided to shoot him. There was no conspiracy or whatever.
Okay.
He was just at a fair somewhere, and this guy just came up and just boom,
Okay.
shot him. He didn't die immediately,
Okay.
but so he was an Ohio volunteer in the U.S. Army during the Civil War. One of his commanding officer was, guess who? Rutherford B. Hayes. Yeah, we'll bring him back. And he also gained acclaim at the Battle of Antietam, which was
Right.
a very serious battle in the Civil War. Excuse me. He was extremely brave. You know, while all of these bullets and things are going around him, what McKinley did was, and he was at the time he was a sergeant, Sergeant McKinley, later raised to a higher level, became a major, but he was all about the troops. He went out to the troops. He gave them food, gave them coffee. He encouraged them, about what it was they were doing. Even though, like I said, there was bullets flying around him, he didn't care. He was there for the men or women. So by the time the war ended,
Goddamn.
he had risen to the rank of major. And that's the name that he preferred. He preferred to be called Major McKinley, even while he was in his presidency, because he said, I earned that. So a very proud man. You know, he said, I don't know about all the rest of the things you're saying about me, but for that, I earned it.
Right.
He was elected to Congress in 1877, served on the Ways and Means Committee. He was the kind of Republican that Republicans today aspire to be.
Okay.
At least most of them, not all of them.
Okay.
He was admired by organized labor for his work as a trial lawyer and for the financial expertise he developed in Congress. He got a reputation for that. Republicans usually advocate free trade. However, McKinley lent his name to protective tariffs to keep out imports. And there's a reason why he did that. I know that most of us are anti-tariff kind of thing, but at the time and place that he put in, it was very significant to the growth of America. He was warmly regarded with his own party as a decent man and a gifted orator. Okay. He had been to many Republican conventions, and he was a fellow friend to Ohio James Garfield. Now, they tried to draft McKinley in 2 different elections prior to the 1896 election. Yeah, it was 1888 and 1892, but he held off. He did not want to be drafted, so he killed the movements. He was also being offered the Medal of Honor. He quashed it. He did not want anything to do with that. He supported tariffs, and he also supported the gold standard. Remember, we talked about that. That's why. And one of the things that was going on there in the opposition party, which was the Democrat and the Populist Party, they were all silver guys, you know.
Oh, okay.
And so he went against that. Let's see.
But there wasn't a lot of pushback on his election.
There was not. No, he was very beloved. He was
Both sides of the aisle.
On both sides of the aisle. He was very, very much a good leader.
Okay.
And William Jennings Bryan, who was his opponent in the election, the first election, he gave a speech. And in that speech, it's called the Cross of Gold speech. And he was saying that we cannot place a crown of thorns or sacrifice our people on the cross of gold. You know, just to emphasize that he was anti-gold.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
And he won the election in a walk. The coalition of Republicans.
He did not. He never left his front porch.
Yeah, well, the expression.
Oh, okay.
So the Republicans, because of him, would control the White House for 28 years of the next 36
Pretty good.
years. Also, Congress, for 32 years, either one house or the other were Republican out of the next 36 years. So his coattails really, really stretched out.
No wonder the opposition didn't bring him up very often.
Yeah, exactly. Now, as far as the economy is concerned, McKinley was strongly protectionist. Okay, he wanted tariffs on primarily to protect the fledgling American businesses that would come up in the early 19th century.
Yeah,
all the big industrial thing, and all of that. So
when we were moving from agrarian to industrial.
Right. So he wanted to protect that. And it worked.
Yep.
It really worked. He had some involvement with China, don't we today, right? He wanted to demonstrate U.S. military might overseas. So he helped to put down the Boxer Rebellion, which was in China in 1900. The Spanish-American War, that he gave the order to go to war with them. For us, he gained because we won the war.
Yeah.
And we gained access to Cuba, even though they wanted independence. Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines were all a result of winning
that war.
The Spanish-American War.
Right.
At first he didn't really want to go to war, but he finally did. So the Spanish-American War, it ended with the Treaty of Paris, and like I said, he got those places that I. Okay. In fact, they kind of considered some of his imperialism, but that was his detractors. The election of 1900 and his assassinations, like I said, he won, and he chose as his vice president Theodore Roosevelt, who had succeeded the vice president that he had in his first term, because that guy died. So,
it was a rough few years.
yeah, and Roosevelt, he was put on the ticket because of New York bosses. Remember, we talked about Tammany Hall before, so they wanted him. But the problem was they wanted him to get him out of New York. They wanted him out of their hair.
Yeah.
They just wanted to get rid of him.
Right.
Well, sadly, what happened was Roosevelt became president at the assassination, and they said, "Oh my God, now we got a cowboy."
Now what have we done?
Yeah, what have we done?
Okay.
Okay. And like I said, he has many memorials. I think there was one more thing that I wanted to say, but like you said, a transformative figure in American history.
Yep.
He got the ball rolling
Yep.
for the 1900s. He really, really did. He was a good man.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Das ist los.
Yeah, that's his Lost.
Okay.
So we're trying a new format here, folks, so bear with us as we get our feet on the ground. So next week we'll be talking about old Rough and Ready.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Rough and Ready Teddy.
Rough and Ready Teddy. Yes.
Got it.
We'll
Got
be
it.
talking about him.
Got any questions on the subject matter? Who do they address them to?
To Uncle Bocce at DocOwenShow.com.
BACI.
Right.
It's the Italian bocce.
Yeah. Means kisses. So
It does?
BACI means kisses.
Now you tell me.
I thought I told you that before.
So your uncle kisses?
Yeah, I'm Uncle Kisses rather than Uncle
Hey,
Bocce Ball.
Tingawa.
Uncle Bocce
All
Ball.
this time.
Yeah.
I thought it had to do with bocce ball.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Uncle Bot.
Good
You're
job,
very
man.
welcome.
Good job.
Yeah.
So let's start at the top. Let's start at the second. I mean, this is a question to ask yourself, audience. Or you can, if you're listening to it with someone, ask each other, whatever. Ask your friends when the next time you see them. At this point in time, tonight, Thursday night, October the 25th, what is, or whenever you listen to it, what's most important to you? The invasion from our south? And this time around, 3 years ago, we called the immigrant train, caravan, whatever, that was coming up here, an invasion, and we were one of the few people doing so.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
This time, it became labeled an invasion right from the beginning,
Exactly.
not at the end. And I guess we were referring to it as an invasion because of our proximity to the border that they were storming across, as well as, so we were feeling very much invaded in our homeland called Texas. And folks in Pennsylvania, New York, and parts asunder really weren't feeling it. They couldn't wrap their heads around it. This time, for some reason, whatever, I think just the sheer size of it, rather than being a few hundred to begin with, it eventually became tens of thousands that came across 3 years ago. But this time, the sheer size of it at the beginning was estimated to be over 1,000 people. So all of a sudden, now they're understanding the term invasion.
Yeah, and we have a new president.
And we have a new administration.
Right.
So it's not the quiet creep of some ladies with their babies coming up here looking for their baby daddy. This is military-aged young men interspersed with some not very nice people,
That's correct.
as President Trump would say.
And not all Central Americans.
And not all Central Americans. All these things are proven.
Right.
They are not fantasy. They are not something that your conservative neighbor wishes were true. They are fact.
That's correct.
And that's been proven by authorities on the ground their entire trip up here. And it is now growing and growing and growing in terms of its size. And these folks they're burning the American flag. They are shouting and chanting anti-American slogans. They are threatening as invaders, whether they're armed or not. They're threatening as invaders, et cetera, et cetera. So what do you think, first of all, what do you think the intent of this migration, this invading group is, and why did they start? What kicked it off? I mean, this is not just a couple of people sitting at the bar getting too liquored up and going and getting three of their friends and heading to Texas. This is hundreds and hundreds of people gathered together by someone or something or some group of things. How much information have you gathered on what is out there? What do you know? What have you learned about who this is? Tell the audience.
Yeah, well, a couple of things that I have heard. They're trying to blame it now on Venezuela.
No, they're not trying to blame it on Venezuela.
Well, officials in Mexico and Honduras, I guess, are saying this is because of Venezuela. They're the ones who are bankrolling it. I'm not so sure about that because now there are two groups.
Vice President Pence said he was told by the Honduran president that they had in a very frank conversation. And the president of Honduras told him that the Venezuelan government paid to kick this off. Okay. Paid the people, the original group that headed out. That was paid for by Venezuela.
Yeah.
So those are the authorities. If you believe them, then that's where it's coming from.
Okay.
I mean, there were theories about George Soros. There were theories about, know, Trump, of course, that he was paying for it in order to get good reason and logic and support behind his building the wall. Yeah. So, they think he's sending the invading army against himself.
Yeah. Imagine that.
Well, some people, logic is a different topic.
It's illogic.
Well, have you heard or read any different?
Well, no, I haven't. I just had heard that they were coming from Honduras.
Yep.
But I do have a question, and, forgive me, but I'm very busy, as a woman in the household and all that. So, but I do have a question about the Venezuela part of it.
Okay.
So, from what I last remember is that Venezuela, one, has no president.
Right.
And how can that government fund so many of those people on their way if they're like even trying to sell toilet paper at like $500 a roll or something like that? That doesn't add up to me.
Well,
good questions.
Yeah, that is
very good question.
That's a really good question.
So it's kind
of what I have been able to surmise about that is you have to understand the situation in Venezuela. The government of Venezuela has stolen all the money.
The government has plenty of money.
Everything. So the government is very wealthy despite the drop in oil. It's the people who don't have anything.
Okay.
There's no
government.
president.
So they have the money to do
no
this.
President.
Okay.
Right.
Well, and
it's
they
a
didn't.
Dictator.
They didn't.
No.
They didn't refer to the president. They just the reference was to the Venezuelan government by the Honduran president. But I have a question for you that I also cannot figure out. What's in it for Venezuela to send their neighbors to the United States?
Exactly.
Were the Hondurans trying to break into Venezuela? I don't think so.
No. In fact,
you know what I'm saying? In other words, what's Venezuela's stake in this thing? That just kind of, other than just sheer stupidity and hate for the United States, which a lot of people have.
Yeah,
We've talked about that before. A lot of people have.
Yeah.
And sometimes they even have good reason if we shine the light on ourselves a bit. You know?
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of these governments that have gone socialist, with Cuba, I mean, they even had their hatred for America and tried to do things
just because
to bring America
we're
down.
successful and they're not.
Right.
So it's a vengeance of
they're a socialist totalitarian government, and they want to bring down everybody around them.
So the latest command from this administration is they've requested between 800 and 1,000 United States Army troops
That's correct.
be sent to the border. The Pentagon has not acknowledged that they will do that, but it's not been an order. It was a request.
A request
is the way it was put in. So it's up to them. Understand, folks, they're not going down there with tanks and guns loaded.
Right.
They're going down there as a support to provide, quote, support and infrastructure for the authorities that can do something about the invading force.
Right.
You follow me?
Right.
So we're not going to have 800 to 1,000 military men armed and ready to shoot at will. They're going to be carrying the water for the people who are armed and ready to stop the invasion. All right, let me tell you a theory. Let me give you another food for thought before we move over to dud bombs. There is an alternate school of thought out there. Some folks that I listen to their podcast and read their blogs, and they're they have for years been very well informed and very correct about these things. A guy by the name of David Hodges and his network. There's some serious concern that these folks are being herded into what they call a kill zone. And because the New World Order has absolutely no respect for human life.
That's right.
None whatsoever. They just consider it all part of the war.
Right.
Collateral damage. Right?
Right.
That these folks are being herded into a kill zone, and then helicopters overhead or bombs going off or whatever will wipe the vast majority of them out, and the blame will be placed on us, the United States.
Exactly.
And there'll be no reporters around. It'll all happen at night. There'll be no way to substantially, by video, validate or invalidate the story that is put out about what happened. Just think about that.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, and when I say think about that, if those sort of things start going on, you'll know that the inside information that these guys had was valid.
But is it going to be on U.S. soil that's going to happen?
No.
Then how can they think it's the U.S. if the U.S. cannot go into Mexico and fight them?
Well, because how do you know who was in? I see exactly what you're saying, but how do you know who was in the air? If it's at night and it's a night ops, and you don't have any video of what the tail numbers were on those helicopters, and they can shoot across the border. I mean, they don't have to be right over them.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I'm not. Yes, there are. If it happens, there'll be a lot of questions to ask. But if it happens, it will be the type of catalyst that.
Well, can somebody do satellite images on that?
Oh, I'm sure they have. There's surveillance.
Sure, I know exactly what you're saying. But these are things to be thinking about and to be looking for.
Yeah.
These are anticipatory things. All right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, from my own personal point of view, I don't think that the American government would do something as underhanded as that, is flying over into the airspace of another country.
There would be no logical reason for the government to do that. They can stop.
you.
We can stop them on the ground.
Right.
But that's not the point. The point is the world would be ready to blame the
That's
American
right.
government.
Absolutely. That's
So
right.
if that's the story that came out for whatever reason, the world would be ready to blame us.
Yeah. And where's the United Nations in all this?
They're going to provide
Nothing.
support. No, they've agreed to provide support for the Mexican government if the Mexican government stops the entourage. The UN will provide shelter and food for the people that are stopped before they get to the U.S. That's what the UN has agreed to provide to Mexico.
Okay.
I read that today. Okay. Bring that back. Bring this whole invasion back. And it was all that was in the news 2 days ago.
Right.
48 hours ago. It was all about the invasion. Apparently, they've parked somewhere under a tree, sitting in a park in Mexico City, waiting to take over the news again. Because now the news is these supposed bombs. Folks, first of all, if it were a Republican bomb, how do you honestly think, two things, do you honestly think that President Trump, this administration, would endorse a bomb made of such inferior quality?
No.
No way. No. The other thing is, it would never go out without the Trump label on it. It would have Trump written all over the pipe. It would be gold pipe. It would be the best bomb ever made in the world.
Right. Right.
So get over yourself at blaming the administration.
That's right.
The current administration.
Yeah. Yeah. But
What if this is going to all Democrats? All Democrats of any sort of influence or power, and this one actor guy that's, made a name for himself lately, right? As an anti-Trumper. What if they're sending this to themselves? What's the gain? What's the game plan? Why would they do that?
well, yeah, that's true. But the fact is that they are not explodable bombs, for one thing. They will not. They don't have a detonator, so they wouldn't detonate. So conspiracy theory in my head says that whoever it is that's organizing this wants to use it to blame Trump.
Well, that's just so full of holes. It's unbelievable.
Well, yeah, but the media
is
already blaming Donald Trump for this without any evidence.
I knew you were going to go there.
Whatsoever.
I knew you were going to go there.
You knew I was going to go there.
You keep playing this evidence game. This is 2018.
Yes, sir.
This is 2018.
It's all perspective.
You don't have to have
Perception.
evidence for sugar honey iced tea.
Well,
You don't,
As quoted by Diamond and Silk.
as originated by Diamond, from Diamond and Silk.
Mm-hmm.
That's their term for what we in the South call bull sugar. Sugar honey iced tea. I love it.
yeah.
You don't have to have evidence. Evidence is that's just so passé.
Yeah.
I mean, that's in the 1900s.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody has evidence anymore. All you got to do is have an accusation, and it's true, and you're guilty until proven innocent.
That's
I
correct.
know.
Now
what
you're going to
talking
come
about.
back with that old Constitution thing about innocent until proven guilty and all that. That's so old. You're such an old fuddy-duddy. I mean, you got to get with the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're doing it to make it appear. I mean, because it's so illogical, they being whoever sent these bombs, they think it's so illogical that the Democrats would send bombs to other Democrats, right? It has to be the Republicans.
That's their logic, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They don't know Republicans very well. Those sons of bitches would have went off.
That's right. That's right.
They would.
Oh yeah.
Besides, that's not typically what conservatives or Republicans do.
Conservatives don't do, but I'm saying if forced,
Yeah.
you know, it's kind of like self-defense. If I raise the gun, trust me, it's loaded.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying? I don't. It's conservatives don't bluff very well.
They don't.
So what if it was just to draw your attention away from the invasion?
I accept that. That's plausible.
That's all it was about. I mean, it wasn't really a political. It was to draw the attention, draw the media's attention away from the invasion. Right.
That's
So
exactly.
why would they do that?
Well,
What's going to change about the invasion? What's going on while we're not watching it, quote unquote?
It's still there.
Okay.
But see, the opposition, if I may say that, they didn't stop with Kavanaugh. They had to move on to something else.
No, they
a
lost that.
distraction. Yeah, I know they did. But what I'm saying is, okay, that didn't work. Let's see what else we can do. Oh, there's this caravan coming. Let's focus on that. And now it's the fake bombs. You know, let's focus on it. It's just a concerted effort against our government.
Okay.
Who's in charge
Who's
of
pulling
it?
the strings?
I don't know.
Actually, well, what I would submit to you is there is no one individual, group, or organization pulling the strings. It's an ideology pulling the strings.
That's right.
And they all happen to think alike. So what you've got is this one group is rolling out the caravan as a part of the ideology, and their response, and there's several groups that have been named and identified, et cetera, that are involved in supporting this onslaught as it comes north. And we will probably get to, I mean, because the authorities are high behind finding out about these fake bombs. Yeah. They don't think it's funny.
No, of course
you
not.
know,
Trump
they take it pretty seriously.
Yeah.
And so they want to get to the bottom of where it's coming from. And I doubt seriously it's coming from the return address on the envelopes, which, if you're not familiar, is Debbie Wasserman Schultz's office in Florida. Yeah. She's bombing all her bosses because they fired her.
Yeah.
I don't think so. But so it's an ideology. It's not, trying to play the game of, well, Soros is funding all of it through all of his open, whatever it's called, open society.
Oh.
Open Society Foundation. Yeah, that's what it calls
whatever
it.
It's called.
Anyway, it's just all, probably a lot of the money is coming down through and around, but it's all about having the same ideology, right?
Yeah.
All right. So we've talked about the invasion. We've talked about the fake bombs. Are you aware of what has gone on in San Antonio, Texas in the last 48 hours?
Somewhat.
Specifically, for the audience, we have a congressman from here by the name of Joaquin Castro, whose twin brother, Julian, as he calls himself, his name's actually Julian, Castro, who was our mayor and then became the disgraced head of HUD.
Yes.
And is now back on local turf trying to figure out which way the buses run. Mm-hmm. Joaquin Castro complained via Twitter, or questioned via Twitter, that when he went to the polling places for early voting,
yes.
he saw 2 police officers circling the parking lot. And so he on Twitter questioned the populace to say, if you see other police officers at other polling places, please let me know. All right. Mm-hmm. Well, our infamous police chief, Chicken Shit McManus, we call
Thank
him.
you.
Oh, wait, was that out loud? My
That was
bad.
out loud, but it
and
was...
that was
Okay.
kind of kind too.
I meant to say
Yeah,
police
it was
chief. It
kind.
sounds a lot like police chief McManus.
Yeah.
Took up the challenge and ordered all of his local police officers to stand down and not hang out at the polling places. In other words,
Target zone.
Castro was laying the groundwork for voter intimidation was going on because we were policing the parking lots, which intimidates illegal voters from voting.
There you go.
And they can't have that this time around.
Nope.
They need everybody they can get. Legal, illegal, alive, dead, they don't care. They need those votes, right? So our police chief accommodated. Well, you may not know this, but one of our fine citizens went to the Texas Attorney General, and we are most likely going to have Texas Rangers patrolling our polling stations.
Good. Good.
Because
Nice.
to protect the sanctity of the vote. So it backfired on him.
Yes, it did.
All right. The police, and by the way, the mayor. Well, no. Interestingly enough, I don't think the police chief reports to the mayor. He reports to our city manager.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
that's the way it
government
works.
in San Antonio, the local government is not in charge of the first responder police force. It's a city manager. It's a one-off relationship. That's a lot of fun, folks.
And they both know each other, too, from the past.
Quite well.
Scully and McManus.
Yes.
Yeah.
They have worked together in other cities.
Oh, yeah.
So connect those dots. Connect those dots all the way down to, and by the way, this is not a well-known congressman. As a matter of fact, he was voted dead last in the House of Representatives for productivity as a congressman.
Does nothing.
Dead freaking last for doing something. But he's got time to raise the question and cause chaos around local voting, invasion, dud bombs, no police presence at the polling places. Where is all this coming from? Is this coming from the administration? Is this coming from the conservative Republicans? Are we scared of losing the vote?
Nope.
Well, where's it coming from?
From the ideology?
Democrats? The people who are going to lose and know they're going to lose?
Well, yeah, you could say Democrats, but don't give a buy to the media. They're just
sorry.
as culpable.
They are Democrats. In my mind, the media
That's you.
and Democrats
Are exactly the same.
exactly the same.
Yeah. You don't know who's leading who.
The mainstream media, not the private, not the internet media, not where the Doc Owen show lives, not where Alex Jones used to live, not where Breitbart, not where the people that are really telling the truth do not live on mainstream media.
That's right.
We can't.
No.
They run us out. I mean, it's like being a conservative and getting a job on a college campus. Forget about it. It ain't happening. They won't hire you. They can't stand you in their mix of what they're trying to do. And it's even worse the lower you go on the totem pole in terms of teachers. By lower, I mean lower grades.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? So, I mean, the conservative voice, the Christian conservative constitutional voice is hammered out, just completely restricted from every area that is supposedly mainstream American life.
That's right.
Which is also why when something like a President Donald J. Trump happens, they are like, what?
What is this?
Where'd he come from?
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody told me about that.
Exactly.
And I think that's the way they're going to be. But I think they are beginning to realize that the blue wave ain't happening.
That's right.
The red wave is happening. So all of this madness and mayhem is simply laying the foundational blocks to support their loss.
Right. They have to have somebody to blame it on.
Yeah,
You know the type.
Yeah, Hillary Clinton. Who's she blame it on? Everybody but herself.
No accountability whatsoever.
None.
Never their fault.
None. Never.
You
Isn't there a word for that? Is there,
chicken? No.
well, yeah, it could be that. But
Chicken salad?
not
No.
a psychopath. What did I say earlier?
Sociopath.
A sociopath. That's the sociopathic way of thinking about things. Blame everybody else for your bad.
Results.
Right. Thank you.
Right.
Finishing my sentence. Yeah. No, you did. I did.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's review.
Yes. Let's review.
What dots have we connected? What thought processes have we triggered in your head, the audience's head?
Yes.
In your head, what thoughts have we triggered in your head? And when I say let's review, you review too. I mean, you review what's going on in the media. You got an invasion, declared an invasion from the get-go, not like last time. Declared an invasion from the get-go by the media, the mainstream media. They called it an invasion. That told me they're setting something up. Or they would have downplayed it as a humanitarian migration of women and children.
That's right.
Right? They wanted us to. Well, that didn't work.
No.
But so this time it's an invasion because they wanted to be able to blame the stoppage of that invasion on the current administration.
That's
and
correct.
then turning it humanitarian if possible. Right? So think of it when it first starts.
Yeah.
So what was the first bomb dud that we learned of? Where did it arrive? CNN.
Yes, how interesting. Why CNN, not MSNBC?
Addressed to John Brennan, misspelled.
Yeah.
And a CNN lackey took it upon himself to open it up and see what was in it. Checking Mr. Brennan's mail for him. Oh, this looks like a bomb. Shit.
Got a live one here.
Quick, get me a camera. Take a picture of this so we can put it out there. All right? Again, a setup.
Yes, sir.
Right down to the local level.
Absolutely.
A schmuck, do-nothing House of Representatives member. Police in the parking lot. They're deterring the vote of illegals. Whoever. They're deterring the vote. The only people that would be deterred from coming into a parking lot to vote with police present are illegal, and they know they're illegal, and they don't want to get caught.
Very good.
So think, folks, think.
Where do you
Think
stand on this?
what is called not strategic thinking. What's it? Critical thinking. Be critical of what you hear. Be critical of what you see. Photoshop. I mean, there's all sorts. Be critical thinking.
That's right.
Ask the question of yourself. Are you sure? Is this what you Front row. Time to go. You have been listening to the Doc Owen Show. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. Now go out there this week and take care, pay attention, and God bless.
Bye-bye, folks. God bless.